Hello, this is Jock and coach of the San Francisco Cinderace, and today I'm going to be going over my semifinal match for Season 3 of the SCL. Here, let me pull this up since what happened with the playoffs was that these three teams made it, and I made it from my side of the bracket. And the way we were going to do it was the higher seed, so in this case me would play the lowest seed from their bracket, but because I was the only one from my bracket, they didn't have somebody for their high seed to play, so I ended up playing the Huntsville Haunters. So that is the matchup here. I do think it's a matchup that's in my favor. My Rillaboom has a lot of good targets for things he can deal with. He hits the Venusaur with Acrobatics, he hits the Heliolisk with Drain Punch or Brick Break, he hits the Lapras, Excadrill, and Hippowdon with any grass moves, as well as the Quagsire. Also, my Dracovish is a good matchup, despite him having 3 water absorbers. And he doesn't have a great way to deal with Umbreon. So, with that out of the way, let's get into the team. Starting us off, we've got Rillaboom G-Max. Now, I had a couple options I wanted to go with on items here. I was debating between either Miracle Seed or Weakness Policy. And there's a couple reasons for each. Miracle Seed lets me kill the opposing Lapras if it's a max HP variant that does not have Rindo Berry. If I don't have the Miracle Seed, I won't kill it, and it'll live with probably about 10 HP, or 10% HP left. Weakness Policy makes more sense if he is, say, Grassy Seed, Rindo Berry, like max HP, max defense, anything else that's like very defensive. And the other big reason I think Weakness Policy is solid is that Weakness Policy lets me basically ignore Aurora Veil. If he gets Aurora Veil off, I can just pretend it's not there with Weakness Policy. So that's the reason I'm running Weakness Policy. Moves-wise, we have Grassy Glide, Brick Break, High Horsepower, Acrobatics. Grassy Glide, High Horsepower, Acrobatics are pretty standard. We switched out Drain Punch for Brick Break so we can get rid of the Aurora Veil. And then the EVs, we have just enough speed to outspeed max speed Lapras, the rest in HP, and then max attack with Adamant Nature. But yeah, that's the Rillaboom. He's going to be very threatening. He one-shots a lot of stuff even outside of G-Max with Grassy Terrain. Grassy Terrain's going to hurt my opponent's team because he has stuff like Hippowdon and Excadrill that really want to use Earthquake, and that damage is going to get cut in half by the Grassy Terrain. So Rillaboom very solid this week. Next we have Dracovish. Now Dracovish has a bit trickier time doing what he wants to do because my opponent has Quagsire, Lapras, and Heliolisk that all have Water Absorb, or in Heliolisk case Dry Skin. But that's not to say Dracovish won't be useful. Dracovish has Choice Scarf Strongjaw so that it outspeeds everything on my opponent's team other than Excadrill and Sand, or Choice Scarf something of his own. It's faster than Choice Specs Noivern, but it doesn't do a lot to Choice Specs Noivern because it's not carrying a dragon move. And then the 4 moves he is carrying, it's going to be Fish's Rend, EQ, Psychic Fang, Stone Edge. And I know I just said Earthquake's not very good to bring with Rillaboom around, but he doesn't have any of the ground move, and that's his best way to kill Heliolisk, so we're bringing Earthquake anyways. Psychic Fangs is there for the Venusaur, gets rid of screens, so it's a backup way to get rid of Aurora Veil if I have to. And then Stone Edge is there to hit the Lapras, mainly. Everything else is going to take a Fish's Rend, that's the idea. If Quagsire's there, I don't have a move to hit the Quagsire, that's going to be somebody else's job. But Dracovish can do very well if I can clear the Water Absorbers out of the way. I should say I'm expecting 2 Heliolisk, Lapras. I don't think the Quagsire's coming. Up next for his debut, we have Pelipper. I decided I wanted to bring defensive Pelipper. I considered offensive, something with Choice Scarf or Choice Specs could have been very threatening to my opponent, as he doesn't have anything that resists both Pelipper's stabs. But I felt that Lapras with Freeze Dry was a big enough problem for Dracovish already, and then bringing an offensive Pelipper that would be really weak to that as well wasn't a great idea, so we're going with a defensive Pelipper that's not meant to fight the Lapras. He's got Heavy Duty Boots, that way he can deal with Stealth Rocks if the Hippowdon or the Excadrill get him up at some point, carrying Drizzle to help boost the Dracovish and his own damage, and then moves-wise we've got Scald, Hurricane, Roost, U-Turn. Max Defense, 4 special attack, 252 HP. Scald, Hurricane are there for stabs. Hurricane can't miss in the rain, but if Sand is up, then it's not very accurate. I think it's only 50% accurate in the rain. Roost is there to help me stay healthy, and then U-Turn is there to bring in Dracovish. I don't expect Pelipper to be crazy useful. He's mainly there to get rid of Sand so the Excadrill can't sweep me, and scare the Hippowdon out. That's his big job this week. Then we have Gardevoir. Gardevoir is interesting because Gardevoir can hit just about everything on his team. If it gets a Calm Mind off, it's very scary, but he has a lot of things that can outspeed it, so it's a interesting situation that if it gets going, it's threatening, but I don't expect it to get going just because there's a lot of things that can scare it out with its low speed. So we'll have to see how it does, but I do have moves for just about everything. With Psychic, Moonblast, and Thunderbolt, there's nothing that resists all of them. I think his best option would be like Assault Vest, Centiskorch, but even that doesn't fare great against the Gardevoir. We're carrying Trace so that we can trace stuff like Water Absorb, or maybe a Sand Rush if we have to. We shouldn't be faster, but if he is Adamant Nature, then we would be faster with Sand Rush. So that's the idea with Trace. Then EVs wise, we've got max speed, max special attack, or 4 special defense. Max speed with Timid is there for Venusaur. We want to at least tie the Venusaur is the idea there. Up next we have Umbreon. We've got a pretty standard Umbreon with leftovers. The only thing we don't have that we usually carry is a status move, either Toxic or Yawn. We're switching that out for Heal Bell. One of his best ways to deal with Pelipper would be a Toxic from something, so I don't want Pelipper getting Toxic. And he does have the option to bring Sleep Powder on the Venusaur, so if something goes asleep, Umbreon's able to bring it back. Otherwise, it's standard. Like I said, max special defense, 4 defense, 252 HP, with Foul Play as its only attacking move. You've seen this Umbreon before, just about every week I've brought it. It's going to do what it's done all the time. Just sit there, be annoying. His best answers are going to be his Centiskorch again. So Centiskorch is likely, I think. And then finally we've got Malamar. Malamar is mainly here as a way to catch him off guard. If I can get a good opportunity to bring Malamar in against, say, the Lapras, that would be ideal, because if you don't know how Contrary works, any stat that gets lowered gets raised, any stat that gets raised gets lowered. So, say I use Swords Dance with Malamar, instead of getting +2 attack, I get -2 attack. So the reason you run Superpower on Malamar is Superpower lowers your attack and defense by 1, so for Malamar, it raises your attack and defense by 1. So that's why I want to fight the Lapras. If I can get a Superpower off, then I get my stats boosted, and then I can one-shot just about everything with this moveset. Superpower, Psycho Cut, Liquidation, Rock Slide. We're running 248 HP, 8 special defense, and 252 attack with a Adamant Nature. I thought about speed investing this, but it just doesn't make sense because he doesn't outspeed all that much. And we've got an Expert Belt. I debated on a Black Belt or a Life Orb or even a Metronome, but I felt Expert Belt was the best just because he does have a move that hits just about everything super effectively. So that's what we went with overall. The things that give me the most problems, I think the Noivern is pretty scary just because it outspeeds everything. The only thing that would be faster would be Dracovish, and looking at the damage calcs, even though Dracovish is faster, a Fish's Rend outside of rain does like 40 to 50, and in rain does like 70 to 80. So I don't have a great way to one-shot it, especially because I'm not carrying Ice Beam on Pelipper, and that's half the reason I have to bring something like Gardevoir so I can deal with the Noivern. Like I said, Centiskorch is likely. Centiskorch hits the Umbreon. It can deal with the Gardevoir depending on its item. It can do okay into Pelipper if it's carrying Grass or Power Whip, not Grass Whip. So it's a decent pick. But if I had to guess, I say he brings his top 6: the Lapras, the Excadrill, the Hippowdon, the Heliolisk, and the Noivern. The Venusaur as well. That's the 6 I'm expecting to see. I would say the Centiskorch is possible. Maybe he drops the Venusaur for it, but I don't know. I didn't bring Salazzle just because in both weathers, Salazzle is not very happy. Salazzle doesn't want to be fighting ground types and gets its fire damage cut in rain. And there wasn't anything I really needed the poison damage for, so I wasn't too crazy about Salazzle this week. So Salazzle's sitting on the bench this week. Sticky Webs could have been interesting, but he does have Excadrill for Rapid Spin and Noivern and Sigilyph for Defog, so I didn't see a great opportunity to keep them up. Mudsdale could have been cool for something to deal with Heliolisk, but I felt Umbreon did that job just fine, so that's what we're going with. And like I said, I do think it's in my favor. I'm probably going to say it would be a 2 or 3-0 in my favor, but if he's able to get Excadrill in the sand with a Swords Dance, I could easily see it being a 1 or 2-0 in his favor. So yeah, it's all going to come out to how it plays out, but yeah, thank you for watching and wish me luck.